Hello there, Ray here, and in today's video we will be looking at 8 unique rares that you can obtain in 1.15 that are no longer possible to get in 1.16, allowing you to have something unique that most people do not have. And as most of you guys know, on the Protect SMP server we try to collect rare items, blocks, and mobs throughout all the passive versions. So we keep track of every little thing that changes in the new versions, and we catalog all this stuff in a document. And on the Protect server, we have hundreds of unique items that come from all the crazy versions that we went through. If you'd like to see all those rare mobs, blocks, and items, I do have 2 great playlists that go into all the details, so you guys can get caught up. And you guys can also find the document that we're keeping track of this stuff. So if you guys notice any other rare stuff that could be collected, you can always leave a comment on there. And if you guys are not subscribed yet, make sure to go ahead and do that, as I have over 600 videos all about crazy stuff you can do in Vanilla Survival Minecraft. Now the first one we're going to take a look at is changes that made to Redstone. 1.16, they try to make Redstone a little bit easier for new people to understand. So if someone's seen like Redstone pointing into an object, people can kind of guess that the power is being pointed into this object here and not be pointing into like this lantern. And because of these changes, some things are no longer possible in survival. Now these changes will make it easier for new people to understand Redstone, but this will actually alter how Redstone devices work, especially in compact Redstone. Stuff will now be powered differently. So this is what everything looks like in 1.15, and let's go ahead and update this world to 1.16. So now we're here in 1.16 with all the new blocks, and we can see that some changes have been made. Our redstone dot automatically turned into a cross. So you cannot actually keep that as a rare block. Nothing changed about this display here either. Actually, nothing changed about this display, except this block here is now currently budded. So if I would update this, you can see it goes back to the way the game thinks it should be now. In the past, the gate being closed was normal, but now the normal is the gate being open in this situation. The gate was actually budded, and as soon as I placed a block beside it, you can see it updated it, making it be open. Same thing for this block here. Now with this new changes, this block should not be powered, so if you update it, it will turn off. Same goes for this lamp right here. These are now powered, so if I update it, you can see it checks and sees it should be powered, so it turns back on again. And this lamp here also has changed, so now this one is technically not powered, so if you update it, it'll turn off as well. What does this mean for if you're trying to collect some rare blocks? It means that you should go ahead and make these different cases, something like a gate here, which you can open and close manually. Put in something that players can't really alter or bud, so something like a trapdoor. You can see now it is in the unpowered state. And the next version, this one would actually be powered. So dots will automatically convert over, but all of these here, these 4, can all be saved as budded blocks in the new version. So they are now a type of rare block. The next one we're going to take a look at is items that can be put into the enchanting table, and the glitch items you can actually get using this. The way that works is you need an item that can stack beyond 1. It has an NBT tag, meaning that it contains extra data. So if we press F3 plus H, we can get this extra information about these arrows. We can see all these arrows are all actually called Minecraft tipped arrow. Since they all share the same name, the only difference between them is their NBT tag. And NBT stands for named binary tag. This allows the game to tell the difference between all these arrows, even though they use the same name. You can even see underneath it says NBT 1 tag. So there's one tag that goes into more information about how this arrow is different from this arrow. And if we go ahead and take some item like this and we shift click it into the enchanting table will actually remove the NBT tag from the item. Now we're left with just a tipped arrow which has no NBT tag, which name is uncraftable tipped arrow. This is something you normally can't get in survival. And if you even look in the creative menu, you will not actually find any of these arrows here. And you can pretty much do this with whatever type of tip arrows you have, and you can do this in survival. Just shift clicking one at a time, you can eventually get a whole bunch of uncraftable tipped arrows. Now, there's actually a whole bunch of different items that you can do this with, and I covered this in much more detail about the NBT eraser. I'll link that video down below. Make sure you check it out because there is some really bizarre stuff that you can get by using this trick. Now here in 1.16 version, if you go ahead and give this a try, you can see the enchanting table no longer removes NBT tags. So it will remember exactly what item was put into it and it won't change. This is why you want to go ahead and actually collect these type of arrows before upgrading to 1.15, as well as collect all those other things that we talk about in the other video. Now of the 3 general types of rares, being block rares, mob rares, as well as item rares, rare items are probably the coolest because you can actually move them around, sell them to like your friends, or use them as like a type of currency. And people can actually like touch them and mess around with them. That's why getting these glitched out NBT-less items are very useful even in future versions. On the Protect server, we actually collected a large supply of these glitched out items, already in anticipation of upgrading to 1.16 eventually. But on the Protect server, we are going to hop through every single version. Since we're currently 1.12, we will eventually go to 13, 14, 15, 16. And collect rares along the entire way. The next one we take a look at is one that has to do with walls as well as iron bars and pane. In version 1.15, which is the one we're in right now, you can see that iron bars don't connect to like fences or iron bars or panes. They're all completely separate, and you have these little gaps you can use to go in between. But in 1.16, which is the version we're in right now, you can see that I have the exact same setup, except these are actually butted. So if I would place some blocks beside like this one here, you can see this block got an update and therefore a recheck to see if it should connect to the ones beside it. And since in 1.16 they do connect, the wall connected to the iron bar, it also connected to another wall as well as this glass pane. That's a change that they made in this version. Now glass panes as well as iron bars will automatically connect to walls. You can do some pretty cool looking stuff with it, but it does mean that you no longer have that cool ability of like placing stuff in between iron bar and a wall, which had a very unique hitbox and allowed us to do some pretty cool stuff like my villager breeder, where the villagers would be able to breed and produce babies and the babies would slip between the holes. Now, it's still possible to do that kind of stuff, you just can't do it this way. So if you want to collect these rare blocks, you could just place in some glass panes beside a wall or iron panes beside a wall, and as long as you don't update them, they will stay this way forever. The next rare that you can obtain before upgrading to 1.16 has to do with your stats. They made some changes to the way stats are displayed, but they also made a change to what happens when your stats get so high the game can no longer keep track of them. And on the Protect server, we've been playing Minecraft on that world for so long, a lot of our stats have went beyond the 2.1 billion mark. And when this happened, the integer actually overflows and it starts to use negative numbers. And then if you still continue to use that stat, it will eventually go upwards until you go back into positive numbers. So it keeps makes this loop where it goes from positive numbers to negative numbers and back to positive. Now this has changed in 1.16. Now if your stats go up to the 2.1 billion mark, which is the limit for the game, it will now just get stuck at that very high number and it won't continue to go up and it won't go all the way back down into negative. Because of this change, it's actually possible to keep your stats always in the negative if you do it before updating to 1.16. Now I did a video on Protect covering how I did this on there, and I will be doing another video going into more detail about how you can get other stats up quite high. Make sure you guys are subscribed and click the bell button. That way you guys get notification of when that video goes live. Now this one is definitely harder to get before updating to 1.16, but there are some tricks you can do to make it a lot easier. And for those who play in the same world, this is definitely a way to show off to your friends. The next one on our list that we'll be taking a look at is another one to do with walls. This is a different change which has to do with how the game changes the shape of the wall depending on what's above it versus what's below it. In this version you can see if I place a block above it, the wall will make an extra post here to kind of support that block. If I remove it, there will be no post there. But the wall below it is supporting this wall, so therefore there is a post. Now this changed in 1.16. Let's go to that world. You can see when I update, the wall looks exactly the same, except this bottom wall here is actually butted, meaning that it shouldn't be in this state. So if I happen to update this wall, so if I just break it and replace it, you can see the default is actually looking like this, where it's completely smooth. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't get that wall to be the way it was. Now this change does allow for very nice downward sending of redstone signals, as if you place any wall on top of this, it's going to change all the walls all the way down to the very bottom. So even if this is 250 blocks tall, removing or placing a wall here will change everything. And I showed this cool trick during our snapshot streams when this was introduced. And typically every Wednesday we do a stream when the new snapshot comes out for Minecraft and test out all the new things. Now, there probably won't be some snapshots for a little while, but we'll continue doing these Wednesday streams and use that time to make new 1.16 farms. Make sure you guys are following my Twitch link below, because we actually open up the world so you guys can join and build stuff with me. So if you were to collect this rare, let's go back into the 1.15 world. You just want to make a little setup just like this and just make sure not to update this bottom one. And if your friends don't believe it, you can always have like a little setup like this where there's one that they can modify and even challenge them to try to make the same kind of wall that you have that is glitched out from 1.15. The next one we're going to take a look at is Endermen and what they're able to pick up. Now because of the 1.16 update, which is another update, they added in the Warped Forest, which is a biome that a lot of Endermen can spawn in. But because this Warped Forest also had a lot of netherrack in it, Endermen were just completely absolutely griefing the biome. It made it look really awful. Because of this, they went ahead and changed it so Endermen can no longer pick up netherrack, meaning that if you get an Enderman that picks up netherrack, it is now considered a rare mob. And another change that they made in 1.16 is they will no longer despawn once they pick up a block. Otherwise, they could go ahead and steal blocks and then despawn. Eventually, you wouldn't have any blocks around. This actually happened on Protosky, where we had a single grass block they were trying to save. The Enderman picked it up and despawned with it. Now, it can be a little tricky to get Enderman to pick up netherrack if you aren't patient, but the best thing to do is just get them caught in a boat like this, put some netherrack beside them, and make sure there's nothing else that they can pick up. You can notice that when they're inside of the boat, turn on hitboxes by doing F3 plus B. The Enderman himself is actually partly inside of this bottom block, meaning he can actually pull grass blocks from the ground underneath of him. So best to probably make the floor out of something he cannot pick up. Then put a bunch of netherrack around him, and he will eventually pick one up. And once he does have one in his hand, you don't want him to place it down. And make sure to fill in the area around him with something that he can't place the block on top of. So I just place a bunch of string around here. That way he's never able to get rid of the netherrack block. If you do happen to have an open area like I had right here, this guy was able to place his block there. Make sure you keep everything covered. You also want to protect him from the rain, so place blocks above him so that he doesn't get rained on, because they do take damage from it and would eventually die. Now, rare mobs are probably the most fun thing to collect in Minecraft. They're like collecting a normal mob, but they're rare, so they even have more things going for them. The next discontinue thing from 1.15 is getting Bad Omen level 6. This is actually possible in vanilla survival, but was never intended to be this way. You're only supposed to get up to level 5, but by killing a bunch of villagers that have the banners on them, you can actually get up to level 6. Now, this type of rare is not easy to obtain, as there is a limited number on how long this bad omen effect will stay on your player. This type of rare doesn't fall into the common rare categories being block, item, and mob. So even though this one is worth mentioning, it isn't actually something you could keep for a long period of time. Next one is pretty cool, which is getting Endermen to pick up grass blocks which come from a snowy biome. So 1.15, if there's like a grass block and there is a snow layer on top of it, it's a snowy block and you can see it looks different. And if you have a boat and a Enderman nearby, there's a chance that he will try to pick up a block around him. And he can actually pick up these snow blocks. And you can actually see that they keep their white color. They look very strange on top because normally you're not supposed to be able to see the top of them, because that snow layer is there. So they almost look kind of grayish compared to the white side. It's pretty much just a grass texture without any color. But the real cool part is they can place down these snow blocks and they will keep their snowy texture without any snow layer being placed on top. If we go ahead and look at my 1.16 world, I actually have an example of this. You can see this guy place down his block and this is what it looks like. And it'll stay this way even in version 1.16. You won't have to worry about it updating. As long as you don't kill the grass that is there, it will continue to look this way. And this is under the rare block category, or it could be underneath of the rare mob category if you have one holding it. It does look very strange and will definitely catch the eyes of your friends. We do want to protect it so that Endermen don't pick it up again, so it's probably best to place some like string around it. Just be careful not to place anything above it, otherwise it will kill the snowy texture on it. Or just put it in some spot that's far away from Endermen so they can't take it. The next rare has to do with generation of villages, the way that farmland generates. There is a chance that the Survium farmland will actually put crops over on top of grass blocks rather than on farmland. And it looks quite strange, but they can actually grow up without updating as well. Normally when blocks like this change state, they often create updates and then they kind of recognize they're in the wrong spot and they will pop off. If we go ahead and bone meal this, we can see it does grow up into wheat and it won't pop off unless you update it from a block beside it. And they remove this in 1.16 so you no longer can get this. So you want to get it in 1.15. As normally you can't grow any crops on top of normal grass blocks. Quite a variety of different types of discontinued items for 1.16 to collect. Some are a lot easier to get than others. It should make it quite challenging on the project server to actually obtain all of these when we get to version 1.15. If you guys would like to learn about more glitches in the game of Minecraft, I have an entire playlist just dedicated to that, and you can find that linked below. And thanks to everyone who sends in images of potential rares that we can investigate, as well as people who have been helping fill out the document for all rares in every single version. You can also find that linked below. And make sure if you guys know of any potential rares throughout any of the versions, make sure to put them on that document. And I would love to hear which one of these rares was your favorite. As always, don't forget to share this video with your favorite Minecrafter. They can go out and collect these rares before updating to 1.16. As well as leave a like on the video. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.